You pride yourself on making lessons that grab your students' attention and make them groan with disappointment when the bell rings because they're just not ready to leave your class. Your activities are engaging, your slides are on point, and face it, everything you do looks like Pinterest threw up all over it. Lessons like this take time, effort, and numerous rounds of revision. Well, guess what? There are other teachers who want that experience for their students, but they simply don't have the bandwidth to become a Canva wizard, so they will gladly pay you for a copy of yours. On today's Teacher Hustle Spotlight, we're talking to a middle school ELA teacher who's turned her lesson planning skills into a viable side hustle by selling resources on Teachers Pay Teachers. In our discussion, she not only shares her story, but also gives some great tips on helping you get started selling your own digital products on Teachers Pay Teachers. So let's get to it. This is After School Empire, the podcast that helps teachers like you make extra money by launching and growing their own income-generating side hustles. My name is Tony Neely. I'm a veteran teacher and a lifelong serial side hustler. Through one-on-one coaching and leading school-wide professional development workshops, I've helped many teachers launch their side hustles. And now, it's your turn. So grab a notebook and your favorite pen, because today is the day we start building your After School Empire. Welcome to today's episode of After School Empire. As always, I'm your host, Tony Neely, and with me today is actually one of my colleagues, Miss Kellsea Stafford. Kellsea, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So one of the things that I'm trying to do more often on After School Empire is to let other teachers hear from teacher hustlers, not just hear from me. And I'm really excited to talk to you because your side hustle aligns with probably half of the questions that I've been getting on social media here lately. And that's Teachers Pay Teachers. So we're going to get into that here in just a minute. Glad to have you. Tell us a little bit about what you do in education.
All right, so I'm going into my 6th year as a teacher. My first 2 years were in 7th and 8th grade, resource ELA and inclusion. And then the last 3 years, I taught regular education, just a normal classroom setting with inclusion classes. And the past year or two, I've actually had gifted classes. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Awesome. I know you're also a newlywed, so you're a young teacher plus a newlywed.
Yeah.
Thus having a side hustle, right? You got to get the extra money going. So tell us a little bit about your side hustle. What is it that you do?
So what I do is I create lessons anyways. Honestly, as a first-year teacher, especially in a resource setting where you're expected to remediate curriculum, I didn't really receive a curriculum. Don't get me wrong, teachers, they would absolutely hand me resources. They would tell me, but it never felt like a unit, if that makes sense, or a unit that I could implement and feel confident in. I'm not saying colleagues never handed me things because I was handed so much.
But it's so hard to take other people's stuff and make it yours.
Right. And also to put it together. For instance, you might hand me something on nouns and another teacher would hand me something on text structure. They don't go together at all. So how do I piece this all together? Was one of the things that I was really struggling with as a first-year teacher. One of the bigger struggles that I was having in resource was the fact that I needed to remediate. So I not only had to teach 7th and 8th grade standards, but I would have to teach 3rd grade skills as well, or 4th grade skills as well, because they didn't know some of the basic vocabulary that I would need in them to know for an 8th grade standard. So what I did was I would go on Teachers Pay Teachers because that's where most teachers are directed in their first year, if their district allows it. Not all districts do, but if your district allows Teachers Pay Teachers, typically as a first-year teacher, if you're not handed a resource or if you can't find anything on the internet, they'll say, hey, check out Teachers Pay Teachers. So that's what I would do. And I would find myself looking for something that would teach an 8th grade standard, but would break it down. And not just break it down to what you might have missed in 6th or 7th, but I needed below that. So I ended up having to buy 2 resources to teach one concept because one would have to be the lower level skills and then one would be the on grade level skills. So that kind of launched my Teachers Pay Teachers journey because I realized, well, why can't I, like a lot of the products I was getting, I felt like I could learn how to make something similar and just include the remediated portion of it. So with that being said, I ended up starting resources that way.
So what was the very first lesson? Do you remember what the first product you put on to Teachers Pay Teachers was?
So I created a resource to upload to Teachers Pay Teachers, but they actually require that you have a free one.
Mhm.
So my free one was just a random worksheet that I created, but my first one was plot diagram, which is a very, very like ELA term. Like most ELA teachers know plot diagram. You obviously have to. But anyways, that's something going on. So I remember doing a plot diagram resource where I used Pixar films or YouTube links to kind of help teach plot diagram. And I would take it back to the very basics. And we broke down plot diagram beyond just like exposition, rising action, climax. We actually went back to beginning, middle, and end. So there's kind of the difference between plot diagram, but then throwing in that supplemental piece of beginning, middle, and end, because once again, you just don't know where they are in the setting I was at.
Gotcha. So you get your free one up. Do you remember how long it took before you got your first downloads of that free?
The free resource was actually really quick. The free resources actually will help generate traffic to your site.
So as another online business, it serves as like a lead magnet. You put out something free, somebody gets it, and that's either going to get them into your funnel, maybe they're going to subscribe to you, but that free item is kind of what is hooking people in.
Right. And I've even like learned that some sellers, they will put free items and it's just kind of like a tease almost to get you to buy their product. But I just put my first product on and it got downloads within the first week because it was free. However, my first priced product, so the plot diagram activity, it was actually, I'd say a month, and I had maybe made like 30 cents.
What was one priced at?
It was, let's see, I believe I started it at like $3 just to see what would happen. It's now, I think, a little bit more, maybe $3.75. I did not upgrade to the Teachers Pay Teachers Premium, which is where you can actually receive more profit per purchase that someone else makes. I did not actually do that until my Teachers Pay Teachers could fund me to do that.
Yeah.
Just because
I always suggest people do that. You know, people say, I'm wanting to upload to Udemy or I'm wanting to upload to Teachers Pay Teachers. Should I start paying for the subscription account? No. I mean, not until you're seeing that this is going to be a viable means of making extra income, because it's a side hustle. We're in it to make money, not to pay somebody else money. But there definitely are some more bells and whistles that become great to have when you are, like you said, making it more viable and making some more of those sales where it can pay for itself.
Right. Once I hit, I believe it was like $30 a month, I then upgraded because I think it's like $90 a year. So like, okay, if I'm making $30 a month, then I can afford to do the premium. And then that's when you really start seeing the benefits once you get to that point.
How is their pricing structure set up? Is it that you get a percentage of each sale? Is it that they take a flat fee out of each sale? How are you actually making money? So you said you put something up for $3 and you made like 30 cents. Does that mean they kept $2.70 of it?
So I remember honestly, I made something like 30 cents. I'm not exactly sure. It was literally, it felt like pennies. However, I do believe it's like a 80-20 structure.
Okay.
So at the beginning, if you don't have the premium plan, you only make like 20%. And
Sounds
then
a lot like Udemy.
Yeah.
With
And
Udemy,
then
if
once
you're not doing their more premium stuff, you can have a $20 online course and you make like $2.65 off of that $20 course.
Right. So it can be like I just was persistent in uploading resources just because I was like, I'm already making them anyways. Might as well. And I eventually got to the point where I could do the premium packaging.
How many digital products do you have available on there now?
Currently, I have 79 products.
Are they structured as individual products? Are they as units? Because I know some people on paid teachers will do both. They'll say, here's an entire unit. And then if you don't want to buy the whole unit for X amount of money, then here are the individual resources, so that they're turning that one unit potentially into 15 or 20 different digital products.
So I started by just uploading products. Like, for instance, if I'm doing a unit on the outsiders, I would have just separate lessons for the outsiders. And then teachers pay teachers, they'll do what's called a bundle, where you could bundle all of your products into kind of that one place, that one-stop shop for the outsiders. So that's how I currently do it. But I would say that most of my stuff is bundled to some extent or another. If I find it. I would say I have about 4 or 5 bundles in my store, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's 4 or 5 products that I didn't have to really do anything for. I just had to create a thumbnail for it and just click on the other products to bundle them together.
And that's one of the things I really like about Teachers Pay Teachers is, for side hustling, we're spread thin as is, not only for our professional responsibilities, but also, you're a newlywed. I have 2 little boys. We still want to have hobbies and still have a life. Sleep is nice every now and then. Highly overrated, but every now and then if you get some. But I like Teachers Pay Teachers because it's an element of working smarter, not harder, or hustling smarter, not harder. Because like you said, you're just uploading digital products that you were already making for your classes. Hey there, I really hope you're enjoying this episode of After School Empire. If you're gaining any benefit from this podcast at all, could I ask you to do one thing? Please take a moment and share it with other teachers. Just a simple social media post or text message to a colleague not only helps this show keep growing, but can also be the first step in helping a friend that you care about learn how to gain more financial independence by launching and growing their own side hustle. Thanks so much. Now back to the show.
Right. I also think that it's also helped me become a better teacher in some ways, because you want to do something unique. Otherwise, it will be very oversaturated. So for instance, if I just posted plot diagram, there's probably 80 other lessons about plot diagram. It has to be unique, whether that be it's highly engaging and it's something different, or you are incorporating remediation, or whatever you find as your niche market, if you will. It has to have some element of uniqueness, or otherwise it will just get drowned out in the market. So what I found was, after I'd posted a few resources and started making, I don't know, $3, $4, $5 a month, which once again doesn't sound like a lot, but once you get the swing of it, you do start making more. Once I started doing that, I started looking at my classroom and thinking, how could I actually create more creative lessons that would sell well? What lessons am I teaching that I could try to put a unique element into it? And that's something that I've really been working on my last few years as a reg ed teacher, is incorporating more unique elements, since I'm not in the resource setting as much anymore, but it's almost like I'm focusing on how to make them more, out of the box, whether that be through my marketing or through my lessons in general. And I think my kids really like it too.
Yeah, your students are benefiting from it. You are trying to become more creative to make more money on the side. But also your students are getting more engaging and more interesting lessons, which is going to promote their learning.
So it's worked really well for the classroom.
Okay, you mentioned the marketing element. Teachers Pay Teachers is, some people have said it's so oversaturated, don't even start. There's so many people there. But you've only been doing it for a couple of years, and you've shared with me, before that you're doing really well. You're not making 30 cents a week anymore,
right.
$5 a week anymore. It's a viable side hustle. What did you find in your marketing that helped start setting your lessons out? How are you generating more clients and more customers?
I think honestly, it's learning how to do the thumbnails, getting people to click on your resource. I know there are some people who will pay for Facebook ads, or will pay for Google ads, or whatever it is. I personally, I'm very risk adverse. Why am I going to do that?
Well, and this is a good opportunity for me to plug. If you don't understand the world of Facebook ads, don't use them, because all you're going to do is throw money away. If you don't understand how Facebook ads works and you're like, oh, I'm just going to throw $20 at this, you might as well take your $20 and throw it in the trash if you don't understand how it's working. So I love that you're saying, no, I'm going to, work on this a little bit more organically. What does your organic traffic flow look like? How are you getting people to your account?
I would say the SEO is huge. Teachers Pay Teachers actually got bought by IXL
Oh,
recently.
really?
Yes. So it has actually changed their algorithm as far as how SEO is. So it's been interesting to kind of see how that works. However, I would say SEO is a huge factor, including those keywords that people are more willing to type in to a search bar is a huge one. That and then thumbnails. It sounds so silly, but get on Canva, learn how to make thumbnails that would make people want to click on it. If people think that they can create it themselves, they're less likely to click on your product.
So I know in the YouTube world, thumbnails are everything. And you can actually take online courses just on thumbnail generation for YouTube. What are you finding that works? What's the secret sauce for thumbnails on Teachers Pay Teachers that's going to make people click on yours? Obviously, you just said, make it look like something they couldn't create on their own. But what colors, what fonts, how are you positioning your thumbnails in a way that's making them stand out against all the other tens of thousands of ELA teachers that are putting their content up on there right now?
So the first thing is when I first started, I was just going on PowerPoint and putting in some text that said plot diagram lesson, and it would just have a blue background, and that was it. And then eventually I learned about Canva, and then I started creating my thumbnails there, it would elevate it a little bit more because I learned how to layer different colors together. The big thing is you want to make sure it's readable. And you also want to try to make certain elements pop. So look at it, just put your computer down after you create it, go back and then look at it. And does your eyes how do your eyes read it? So often people will have so many words that you can't even see it. Sometimes less is more. You don't want to overwhelm someone who's looking at it.
Yeah. So 2 things there to add before you share a little bit more. One, if you're listening to this and you're a teacher and you didn't know this, I think you're actually the one that first turned me onto it. If you're a teacher, you get a premium account for free with Canva. And so Canva premium is normally about $100 a year, but if you're a teacher, you get it for free, which not only makes everything look better for your class, but also can spill over into your side hustle. Second thing, I like what you said, make it shut down for a minute and then go back to it. With online courses and with YouTube thumbnails, things like that, I've heard them say, whoever the number one person in your niche is, look at what they're doing, and then go back and compare yours to theirs and say, if somebody was scrolling through and all they saw were our thumbnails and our descriptions, are they clicking on theirs or are they clicking on mine? And if they're going to click on theirs, what makes theirs so much better than mine? That doesn't mean that you're copycatting, but it's being reflective about the product that you're offering, that if this is the upper echelon of my niche and they're selling $10,000 worth of stuff on Teachers Pay Teachers, a month, if they're number one, how can I up my game to make it compete with what they're offering?
Right. I found myself doing a lot of comparing, and I'm not going to lie, there is a style, if you will. You can look through Teachers Pay Teachers and see those better products have this style. But at first, I think so many people get intimidated because they can't do that right off the bat. But I didn't start right off the bat. I started using PowerPoint. And you can still use PowerPoint and do great thumbnails. That's not to say you can't do great things on PowerPoint. I think you just have to keep working at it. I joined several Facebook groups that were directed at Teachers Pay Teachers sellers. And that was actually really, really helpful for me because I could just type in thumbnails on the search bar of the group and I could get all types of just little tidbits of information that would be helpful or useful when creating thumbnails. If you're looking for marketing, you can go on those groups and they literally will lay it out for you. It's just a matter of trying to find, how do they do this? How do they create this product with this in it? It's really just a lot of research, I found.
What would you say was the one thing that you did to take your account from the one sell, a week or one sell a month to where it became steady side income? Was it just adjusting your thumbnails that kind of did most of that? What was that tipping point for you?
I think creating more resources
So it was
had
a
a lot to
numbers
do with it
game.
as well. I think it had a lot to do with it. Once I hit like 12 or so resources is when it really started to like, oh, this is like a good option. This could actually bring in some money that could help with, whether it be my classroom funding or dog food for the dog, who knows. But I think like once I hit about 12 products, I actually saw that it could be more than just $5 a month. That's when I went back and I redid the thumbnails, and then it started seeing more success. So then I just kind of got on this like
So you went back and
product posting.
revised the thumbnails
hmm
from the items that were already listed.
Right. Yeah. You can go back at any time and redo them. So I went back and revised them. And then going forward, I applied what I knew. And I still go back to this day and revise. I actually still have products that I'm looking to revise on my teachers, pay teachers.
So what are some goals that you have for your side hustle? So you know where you started. You said you're up to about 79 products. Where would you like to see your side hustle go in the next year or so?
I'd like to get to 100 products. I would also really like to go back and, like I said, kind of revamp some of the ones that I've uploaded, especially earlier on, because like the more you do it, the more you see what's successful and what works for you. So like what works for me might not work for everybody, but the more I do it, the more I find out like, oh, this sells better because it has, this element on it, or it has these vocabulary words in the SEO, I guess. I don't know how to say that. But anyways, the more you do it, the more you kind of see like what people in the world of ELA are looking for. And if you're like a social studies teacher, your SEO and your market is going to look a little different than what mine will look like. When you post a product, they have what's called product tags. And it kind of helps also with, where your product will be at.
So if someone's searching for the Outsiders, they're going to search and items with that tag are going to come up.
Kind of, but like for instance, so on the tags, it'll be like reading, language arts, novel study, like there.
Gotcha.
So you're like, well, this applies to all of them. So really, it's like you'll figure out as you post and as you see what does well, you'll kind of figure out the tags that are working the best for your subject area. So it might be like you'd have US history, world history, agriculture, I don't know. But you'd have to figure out like which tags work best with these keywords. And there's not like a one answer fits all. It's really just based on you have to learn as you go.
Are you using any third-party tools to do keyword research or anything right now?
I am not. I actually would like to get into that in the future. My husband, he does a lot of work with SEO and he has a lot of tools that he uses, but I don't know how much it would apply to teachers pay teachers. Like, I don't know. So
Well, just
I
being
would
able to
love to
see
get into that.
what are the most frequently searched key terms, what are
Yeah,
tags that are, there could be 4 or 5 tags that you're not including that would open you up to a much broader base of clients. Yeah, so that might be something to check out, is what kind of third-party tools you might be able to use to do
absolutely.
some more keyword research. For those of you that are listening, we've been saying SEO, that's search engine optimization. Basically, that is when somebody is searching for a term, Google, whatever search engine you're looking for, is going to go out and they're going to comb looking for websites that align with those terms. And this is one of the reasons why I was going to ask you, since you're ELA, if you do any blogging or anything, because I know a lot of teachers pay teachers, side hustlers will have blogs to help generate their organic traffic. And they'll be able to use a lot of those key terms for SEO, then link it back to their teachers pay teachers.
I would love to start a blog. The only thing that is keeping me kind of right now from doing it is just time.
Let's
just
talk time.
because,
Let's talk time.
yeah,
How are
yeah.
you balancing your time as a side hustler with your time as a teacher and your time at home? Because it is nice that you said you're in the working smarter, not harder model, that you're using stuff for your classroom. But as you're wanting to create more and more products, obviously that's going to be creating stuff that you're not necessarily using in class. So what kind of boundaries, what kind of constraints are you putting on yourself to make sure that having a side hustle doesn't interfere with the rest of your life?
So the beautiful thing about Teachers Pay Teachers is that you do it every day. Regardless if you see it or not, like you will create lessons every day. You're going to teach life skills every day. So I would say like for me, especially this past year, I did not upload resources even like once a week. Like once you have, your top, I'd say 50 even, like, and you create those so naturally just by being a teacher. You don't have to go outside of school and spend all of this time doing it. You already do it. So it's definitely very much a passive thing for me. Once it's posted, I don't really have to go back and look at it unless I choose to and unless I want to. I'd say I spend creating a resource about 2 hours or so. But like I'd say at least an hour of that would be me creating it anyways for a class.
Awesome.
The only thing is, it's like the more I get into Teachers Pay Teachers, the more I want to add to it to like make it more unique. So I'd say that's why it takes an hour now. But before I could pop them out in like 20 minutes because I was doing it anyways and I was just posting what I had did originally. But now like I've kind of found like my groove and I do want to add a little bit of, uniqueness to it. So it does take a little bit longer, but it's still
But
only
once
like
it's
an
made,
hour.
it's made.
Yeah. And I don't have to go back and redo it. I don't have to worry about an inventory or any of that. It's on there
Yeah,
for good.
I am all about side hustles that are evergreen in nature, that once it's made, once it's uploaded, aside from doing some marketing from time to time, you don't have to touch it again. It's just kind of there,
Yeah.
which is one of the reasons why I love doing online courses, because aside from going back and maybe updating some content or revising some things here or there, once you make an online course, it's posted and
Mhm.
you don't have to constantly stay on top of it. So just recapping some of the things you've said, if you're looking to get into Teachers Pay Teachers, you said have a niche. Don't just put up general ELA stuff. Find a way that you can carve out some kind of specialization. So like for you, you realized that the gap was that a lot of on grade level resources were not including, resource materials to help with those students that maybe needed some more of the foundational building blocks. So that's what you started doing, was including those lessons where you used to have to buy multiple lessons. You're offering those as just a single product. Make sure that your thumbnails are aesthetically pleasing and stand out. Take some time in Canva, really make something that pops. Third, make sure that your SEO is good, that your titles, your descriptions are going to be using key terms that people are looking for. And then anything else that you found is working well, or any other advice that you would give to teachers that are wanting to hop on the Teachers Pay Teachers train.
Just look inside your classroom and see what your classroom, like, what do your kids really enjoy? I think really just reflecting on your own classroom practices will give you an area to like focus on, or a niche area, if you will. And that was so hard for me, was kind of figuring out what that area would be for me. But that was something that like I needed for my kids. So when you look in your classroom, what are you constantly saying, man, I wish I had this? What is that area in your class? What is the area that you find your kids? Why do your kids really enjoy coming to your room? Can you capitalize on that? Whether if that's a social and emotional skill, it might not even be content related. You could put social emotional stuff on Teachers Pay Teachers. You could do class decor. If kids love coming to your classroom and that's something you create, you can put that on Teachers Pay Teachers. It doesn't always have to be just a standard or a lesson per se. Teachers are so often, they'll go to Teachers Pay Teachers for generally anything at this point in the profession. You can even look on there for like resumes and stuff. It's crazy now.
That think outside of just doing lessons and find things that are education or teaching adjacent, because
Mhm.
if you're thinking about it or looking for it, chances are other teachers are as well.
Mhm. And teachers pay teachers. The platform is so much more than just lessons at this point. They're doing so much other things besides just teaching like those content standards.
Awesome. So, Kelsey, if somebody wanted to go on Teachers Pay Teachers, pull up your account, either check out what you're doing or hopefully buy some products from you, where would they find you? What's your username on there?
I'm actually called the Mind Hive. If they could just go on and type in the Mind Hive and I would pop up, or one of my resources would pop up.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to also put a link to that in the show notes so people can go in, click there, and it'll take you straight to the Mind Hive so you can see what Kelsey's doing. Kelsey, thank you so much for coming on for our Teacher Hustle Spotlight today. I really appreciate you taking the time and enjoy your summer.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Have a great day. For more resources and support, be sure to visit www.afterschoolempire.com and sign up for my mailing list. I promise not to spam you, and you'll be the first to know about new side hustle resources that are available from After School Empire. Until next time, remember, people want to give you money. You just have to find a reason for them to do so.